afternoon and many thanks for joining us at this time. You're watching News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The top stories. Presidency says it has no time to entertain thoughts about 2027 politics yet. Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs NSCIA tongue-lashes state governors for seeking federal government's intervention in tackling insecurity security challenges. A bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Hassan Kuka, criticizes distribution of palliatives to Nigerians and amid severe hardships facing the country. Details coming up shortly. Welcome back. I am Omoefe Peace of Semar. Now let's begin with the comments made by the presidency, where it says activities of the followers of the candidate of the Labour Party LP in the 2023 presidential election, Peter Obi, will not distract President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. This was disclosed by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, during a podcast. Onanuga, who ruled out the possibility of the Tinubu-led administration being distracted, also accused Peter Obi of introducing a dangerous speech to politics by deploying religious and ethnic sentiment. Asked whether Obi's politics and his followers could pose a threat to President Tinubu's chances in 2027, Onanuga said the administration has no time to entertain thoughts about 2027 politics yet. And now, against the backdrop of Nigeria losing trillions of naira to crude oil theft and pipeline vandalism annually, the federal government has adopted a virtual means of evacuation of crude oil that involves the utilization of barges and trucks for the transportation of crude from the point of production to injection and storage points for eventual transportation to export terminals. This is contained in a new presentation by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission on Stability in the Nigerian Energy Sector, Integrated Strategies for Infrastructure, Transportation and Security. According to media reports, the alternative crude oil evacuation systems was implemented to avoid production deferment, losses and other undesirable consequences as a result of pipeline disruption and outages. It will be recorded that Nigeria had last year incurred a substantial loss of 65.7 million barrels of crude oil, valued at $83 per barrel, translating to a staggering revenue loss of 2.3 trillion naira as a result of oil theft. Well, to tackle this, the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission said the government had to promote the alternative crude oil evacuation systems by transporting the commodity through trucks and barges instead of pumping them through pipelines. Now let's head on to Lagos State, where the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, says the state will experience abnormal rainfall this year. Wahab, who revealed this at a news conference on 2024 seasonal climate predictions and socio-economic implications for Lagos State, added that a total of 1,936.2 mm rainfall has been predicted for the state. According to him, Ikeja is expected to have an onset date of April the 4th and cessation date of December the 4th, with a high annual amount of 1,900 mm rainfall, while Badagry will have a rainfall onset date of April 1st and cessation date of December 5th, resulting in 1,978 mm rainfall for the year. The Commissioner noted that below normal rainfall was anticipated in the first half of the rainy season, while normal to above normal rainfall was expected in the second half of the rainy season. Speaking on the ministry's collaboration with NIMET on seasonal climate prediction, Wahab remarked that the partnership had been valuable as a vital weather and early warning tool for farmers, decision makers, operators of the various sectors and businesses likely to be impacted by the annual rainfall. Right, you're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come. Of course, there have been a handful of takeaways from the sermons and admonition by clerics to Christians in the event of this year's Easter celebration. Amongst them, one would say is the essence of love, unity, patience, and tolerance. However, Easter celebration this year appears to be on a low-key, a development which is not unconnected to the harsh economic realities on ground. Of course, coupled with the insecurity bedeviling the country. At the door of a clergyman and economist will be joining me in a moment to fill us in on the lessons Christians must learn from the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and also how the economic hardship has impacted the celebrations this year. All of this and more after this break. You join us again. Welcome back from that break. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you are just joining us, you're watching News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Now, the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, has tongue-lashed state governors for seeking the federal government intervention in tackling security challenges. While delivering a Ramadan lecture titled Duties of Muslim Citizens in National Development in Ekiti, Secretary General of NSCIA, Professor Owraigbo, has said President Bola Tinubu alone cannot handle every situation in the country, hence the need for all the 36 state governors to look inward and fashion out local means of neutralizing criminal elements and end banditry in their various jurisdictions. Owraigbo, who is also the registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, who was however represented by the provost of the Federal College of Education in Iwo, Professor Abdulrafiu Adebayo, said the subnational leaders have roles to play in addressing various challenges confronting the nation rather than playing the blame game. Speaking on the havoc that religion has caused Nigeria, Owraigbo said Nigerians as religious people, they are really religious but not necessarily godly, stressing that many Nigerians shun hard work but turn to prayers, thinking being religious will guarantee results. But the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Hassan Kuka, has criticized the distribution of palliatives to Nigerians amid the severe hardships facing the country. The cleric, who made this known while speaking on a national television program, faulted the distribution of palliatives, claiming that the masses often do not get them, as a good part of the money meant for such is always stolen. According to him, Nigeria needs healing, thereby urging the government to fix issues of insecurity bedeviling the country. The cleric added that rather than blame the government or an individual, we should return to the scene of the crime to see the range of opportunities amidst. According to him, Nigeria needs healing, and therefore there should be a holistic approach from the end of the government aimed at tackling the many issues bedeviling the country. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tori Lagbaja, has reassured Nigerians that the service personnel are determined to eradicate terrorists, bandits, and other security threats bedeviling the country. The Army Chief, who gave this assurance in his Easter message, noted that the service had recorded a lot of successes in the ongoing operations against terrorism and banditry, among others. Lagbaja, while urging officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army to use the season to pray for continued successes, averred that he had provided the needed training and resources for his men to tackle the insecurity ravaging the country. Well, it's been a period of sober reflection as Christians all over the world marked the event that commemorates the crucifixion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, while this is a significant part of Christendom, a major takeaway from the sermons and admonition by clerics to Christians is the one of love, unity, patience, and tolerance. According to media report, Easter celebration this year appears to be on a low key, a development which is not unconnected to the harsh economic realities on ground, coupled with the insecurity bedeviling the country. On news analysis today, a clergyman and economist joins the conversation to fill us in on the lessons that Christians must learn from the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and also how the economic hardship has impacted celebrations this year. We understand that there's been, a hike in the price of, foodstuff and other essentials. And it's also okay for us to take note of the fact that transportation hike, is not, the story there is not completely different from this development. As a result, a number of people could not even travel, as usual, to celebrate Easter with their loved ones. But I would like to start a conversation with a pastor who joins us live via telephone from Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria, Pastor Karo. Owraigbo. He is the head pastor, United Believers Mission, Port Harcourt. Good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir. It's okay to say happy Easter celebration to you as well, and it is a new month, so happy new month.
Yeah. Same to you. I wish you well. Happy new month.
Thank you. So much to talk about here, with a lot to take in, but could you please help us get sense of what it is like from your end in terms of celebratory activities to mark this year's Easter holidays?
There's a lot of celebration in town here. Everywhere is busy, and people celebrating the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus, which is what's celebrating. So we give God thanks the members of what Christ did for us many years ago. So it's a great time, and it's a good time.
Right. In terms of movement from one place to the other, how has it been? What is it like? Because here in Abuja, we understand that a number of people could not really go out, as usual, to have fun or to celebrate, the Easter holiday and all of that. We know, of course, Rivers State is an oil city, they say, filled with a number of beautiful spots and locations to visit, especially at this time. What exactly is it like?
Movement is been beautiful. I went out yesterday, and I saw that a lot of people are out there busy, and it's a good time for Nigerians. I'm glad that Nigerians, and this is a reason for them to celebrate, irrespective of the issues in the economy and all that. I saw people go out. The place is peaceful. River State is peaceful. Security in order. So I saw a lot of people going out. A lot of people went out yesterday, to celebrate the Easter celebration, which we give God thanks for that.
Right. Now, beyond the merriment, what lessons are Christians, supposed to learn from this event?
Okay, it's not just actually supposed to be for Christians alone.
Right.
Unfortunately, if I will use that word, the resurrection of Jesus, which is being celebrated as Easter, is being narrowed down to just celebration of people are celebrating themselves. People go out to eat. People, there's nothing wrong with that. But the truth is, the celebration itself is to be about Jesus, right? Jesus speaking in John 11:25, Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life." So resurrection, what you call Easter, actually is much more than a ceremony. It's much more than a day. It's a person. So we should be celebrating Jesus. So every time seasons like this come, our mind also supposed to go to the death and the resurrection of Jesus, which signifies salvation. Everything that happened around the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus is about salvation. So we should, experience our life. You look at yourself, am I saved? Even though I'm going to church, this death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, why did it take place? Was it just a ceremony? Was it just something that just happened? No, it was planned from the origin of time, and it happened at that particular time just for our sake. So if you have not benefited from it, it's a period where, you come to the Lord and accept Him and be sure that you are saved, not just that you are going to church. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. When you take a look at, the progression of events within the Christian community, it leaves us with a handful of questions as to whether or not we practice what we preach. How best would you want to admonish, Christians to always, exemplify, the acts of Jesus while he was on earth beyond this period?
Permit to use the word unfortunate again is because a lot of people have actually lost the focus on the purpose of why we are called Christians and all that, right? Bible said in John 1 verse 20, Matthew 1 verse 21, talking to Joseph, he said, Mary shall give birth to a son, and you will give him the name Jesus, for he will give his people salvation from their sin. The truth is, the Christians in Nigeria, let me just focus on Nigeria, our attention has left the purpose why Jesus died, why he rose again, which is salvation. So everything we do in church is supposed to go around salvation. Salvation talks about deliverance of, everything we do should go around salvation. If we go back to the apostles, who are the fathers of faith, everything they did, the messages they preached, every service they had was about Jesus and was about salvation. There was no self about it. There was no personal interest in it. It was just about Jesus and salvation. So my advice, my admonition to the Nigerian Christians is that we should go back to the cross. We should go back to the original template, which is salvation. All we do in church should reflect the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus. If it's not reflecting the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, no matter how beautiful it is, no matter how good it is, no matter the crowd, it is not acceptable by the Lord. So my advice to believers is let's go back to the original template, which is Jesus came to save men from their sin. Thank you so much.
Right, absolutely. Let's now talk about, the essence of patience and unity, especially at a time that our dear country is bedeviled, by a number of issues from insecurity to economic hardship. I know you already posited that in Port Harcourt over there, it looks like the economic hardship didn't have any bite on the Easter celebration. But let's talk about, again, Christendom and the essence of patience, love, and unity. When you talk about peaceful coexistence, this is something that seems to be missing. How would you speak to that?
Jesus, one of the names that he's called is a Prince of Peace. We can't say we are Christians and don't accept peace. Bible talk about living with peace with your neighbors as much as it lies within your power. So as Christians, I always tell people, like, example, in the South, you're in Abuja, but in the South here, you see that most, let me say, 90% or 80% of everyone you see on the street claim to belong to one church or the other. He's a Christian, he belongs to that church, he's a Christian and all that. But again, you see the same people, they are the same people who are at war with each other, who are at fight with each other and all that. Because I will speak to believers. We can't say we are Christians and don't live the life of believers. Jesus is everything. The Bible says, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. Looking unto Jesus. That means he lived his life. That's the way we should live our life. Bible speaking in Antioch, people looked at the apostles and they said, these ones are living like Christ. That's where the name Christian came, like Christ-like. There was no place in scripture where Jesus was at war with his neighbors. There was no place in scripture where Jesus was at war with anybody around him. In fact, Jesus is peace himself. So if we claim to have received Christ, if we claim that Christ is in us and we're in Christ, the example we should show to unbelievers is an example of peace. Living in peace with our neighbors, living in peace in our place of work. It's an example. One of the true reflection, one of the true, of the fruit of the spirit is peace. You can't say you're a believer and you're not at peace with people. So I want to encourage Nigerians to live in peace. Let us be patient as we pray. The unfortunate is that in Nigeria is one of the most prayerful nations. But we can't pray. The people that are finished praying right now, the people are complaining the next hour. They pray right now, they are fighting the next hour. As we pray, as we go to churches and pray, have vigils and all that, we must be patient, trusting God that we're praying to a God who hears us and await results, trusting God that Nigeria will be better. as we pray for Nigeria, trusting God that things will be better and live in peace with our neighbor. So peace and patience is their virtues, they are fruits that every believer must bear. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you so much for that insight, Pastor Karo. But before I let you go now, what is your proposition like, I mean, to the government with regards to, you know, the many issues bedeviling the country at this point in time? I mean, you already said it's okay for us to pray, and afterwards we must be patient and always, you know, stay hopeful. But, I mean, do you have any proposition for the government in terms of leadership?
I know that leading Nigeria is not an easy task, but the only thing that I will say to the government, if they are hearing me, is that the truth is, if you go to the streets of Nigeria, people are hungry. Things are not working as the Nigerians expected. A lot of homes are hungry. People are begging to eat. Even those people used to beg are even are looking for food for themselves. The simplest thing every citizen of a country should have, at least besides security, is food. You know, so I would like to encourage the government. You know, you can't be leading and nobody's following you. The fact that you are leading is that when you turn back, there are people following you. When I talk about people following you, it's just physical cue that people are following you. You know, the Nigerians are going through a lot. I like to encourage the government, you know, in every policy they make, in every policy they put in place, in every decision they put in place, they should put the common Nigeria first. The common Nigeria, because without Nigerians, there is no president. Without Nigerians, there's no governor. Without Nigerians, there's no local government chairman. Without Nigerians, there are no senators. The senators, the House of Rep, the governors, the president of Nigeria, let their decisions not be for selfish reasons. Right. I see a lot of selfish decisions taken in Nigeria. Let the government, let the leaders of Nigeria, let them put Nigeria first in every decision they make. Let them put Nigeria, not planning for the next election. This state government is just about 1 year, not even up to 1 year. But people are already thinking of the next election. I think they should forget about the next election first and think of how Nigerians will breathe a fresh air of hope and, you know, of security and food. Those are the two major things: security, food, and power. Once these things are put in place, I think every Nigerian will breathe a fresh air. Security, food, power, and you add road to it, and the Nigerian man is okay. I don't think Nigerians are asking for too much. They're just asking for the basic things of life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid I have to leave it here with you now. I head pastor at the United Believers Mission Church in Harcourt, Pastor Karo. Owraigbo. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. God bless you. Have a great celebration.
Thank you. All right, it's news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, I will be having an economist, Aliyu Ilias, to also bring in the economic perspective and how it has affected, you know, the Easter celebrations this year. To join us again. Welcome back from that break, and thank you so much for staying tuned. This is News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV, right? I have an economist, Aliyu Ilias, live on the telephone this afternoon to tell us how, the economic reality on ground, has impacted or affected this year's Easter celebration. Good afternoon to you, Aliyu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
And happy Easter celebration to you. I mean, it's actually double celebration. It's a new month today, so happy new month to you as well.
Thank you so much.
Right. We understand it's a low-key Easter celebration this year. Is it any different from what, we recorded last year, by the way?
Most definitely, there is a big difference between the festive last year compared to this year, because if you look at the purchasing power last year, year on year, you see that there's a big difference. Most family, because it's the longest holiday you mostly have in a year, it rolls from Friday up to Monday. So most people that normally travel cannot afford to travel, and most people that usually maybe have a very big celebration have decided to have it low keys because of the purchasing power.
Now, the hike in transportation cost and the prices of foodstuffs, especially during festivities, seems to be a tradition. But tell us what you make of this trend and, how this actually, impacts the celebration this year.
It is basic understanding that when we have more people purchasing a few things, it usually results to a kind of hike in price, especially not that people want to celebrate, but the major thing that is causing our problem is what we call supply chain. And when we see supply chain, we now resort back to transportation costs. When you buy actually a particular goods in particular environment, before you can take it to where you are going to sell it, the cost of transportation have actually much more effect on the price at which you buy the product. So transport system is becoming a serious problem. You will recall that with the first subsidy removal, anything that has to do with transport has now increased in a geometric form, consequently affecting the purchasing power of people, because it's what you buy you are going to sell.
Now, let's look at the economic activities in the first quarter, we just ended in the month of March. Was there any significant growth?
Right. If you look at it, I think it's a two-way thing. Government is getting much more money, while the citizens are not having a fair share of it. Basically, if you look at price of items, it was an increase, it's an upward trajectory, because what you buy things in January has actually increased in February.
Right.
Consequently, in March as well. So I think for this quarter is a quarter of experimenting government policy in proper shape, because if you look at it very well, it has not really had that effect. That manifestation of government expectation have not started to work now.
So, I mean, is that an indication that we're also going to, experiment in the second quarter of this year?
Well, ideally, all what we have been doing, all government and CBN policy towards making government economy getting better, I think we'll see more manifestation in second quarter. So probably second quarter might be better compared to first quarter.
Let's take a look at some of the economic reforms with regards to, the MPC meetings, that have been held by the CBN. I mean, the outcome has left a number of Nigerians, asking a number of questions as to what is the way forward. I mean, the days ahead, how gloomy can they be for Nigerians?
Right. For the MPC, the major thing that we are seeing there is increment of MPR by 600 basis point. It's becoming surprising that we first experienced 400 increment, now we have 200 increment, making it about 24.75% MPR. What is the implication? The implication is simply that the small business who easily go to banks or go and get a loan for business will find it pretty difficult to actually go borrow, and that will make them to reduce their productivity. Also, medium-sized company will not want to go and borrow, because this discourages people from borrowing. So if you look at it very well, government are thinking, their thinking is that there is more money in circulation, let us increase the MPRs. Consequently, it will But this is an hawkish approach, which you are sacrificing economic growth to achieve a reduction in inflation. So, and it's sometimes counterproductive, especially when you don't have a robust economy that they have that shock absorber to really stand the issue of borrowing. I think it's not a good one. In as much as CBN has scored a lot of good points, I think the MPR is still not a better one. So, looking at it to first quarter, I think they have to review and make sure they bring it down, not increasing it at all. They maintain status quo.
But Aliyu, we know, of course, that the MSMEs are, I mean, when you talk about the drivers of the economy, you must, look at the MSMEs first of all, not to, downplay, other, sectors that are also contributing to economic growth. But with the carry on of the MPC, the CBN lately, isn't that a pointer to the fact that the second quarter might start on, on a very rough note?
Yes, I agree with you, because you look at our employment, at about 85% are employed in the MSME sector, and it also provides about 50% to our GDP. So if you want to maintain employment, you want to maintain economic growth, you just have to look at that area and consider people in that level. So for me, I think going forward, we do not want to see MPR increment. Rather, I want to see them maintaining the status quo, or rather, they ensure that they actually reduce it so that to engender economic development as expected. You will recall that even President Tinubu said he's expecting 3.7% economic growth, and also looking at 21% inflation. But with the approach now, you find it's pretty difficult. Now we are almost completing first quarter, and inflation is around 31.75%. Why they projected 21%? So they also need to go back and look at the indices and work on it.
Well, from the progression of events, Aliyu, what do you see, playing out? I mean, the MPS is yet to release, the inflation report, for the last month. But what do you think playing out at the end of the day? Do you see it reducing or increasing?
Well, for now, I don't see the inflation reducing, because if you look at the drivers of the inflation, we have not tamed them as expected. So we only, it could be marginal, but there will be an increment. It could only be marginal. There will definitely be an increment for now.
So what are Nigerians supposed to do at this point in time? I mean, to buckle up or to brace up for the challenges, the economic challenges ahead?
Right. Well, for me, most things that we expect that would have changed the trajectory of the Nigerian economy, such as Port Harcourt refinery coming on board, Dangote working on producing PMS, we expect CNG buses, those things that we are expecting that would have bring succor to Nigeria. We are not seeing it coming out. We only hope by second quarter they would have been out. But for now, I think Nigeria should just have cautious optimism for the economy and make sure that you actually embark on what you need, not really what you want, because it's not time for luxury.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think that would be a great way to end the conversation. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Aliyu Ilias is an economist, and I'm afraid this is the much we can take on news analysis today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Omoife Piso Semere. I'll be back in a moment with the news update. Good afternoon.